Alrighty, you guys, so today in this video we're going to be talking about the runner rig. So I've got my bait right here. Since the water's muddy, I opted to go for a black magic colored 12-inch Wrangler worm. And we also got my favorite hook for this rig, the big Berkley Fusion half-ounce belly-weighted 7/0 hook, swim bait hook. And you just put it on the screw lock just like so. Screw it onto the screw lock just like you would a swim bait, like so. Then you Texas rig it just like you would a normal swim bait, just like that right there. That's the rig. So how you fish this rig? I hope the wind is not too bad on the camera. If I can ever get to my rod here. Alright. Hope the wind's not too bad on this video. It is raining and quite windy, so I hope it's not too bad right now. I'm going to try to keep my back to the wind as much as possible. But yeah. So how you fish this bait, you basically just cast it out onto the bottom. Let it sink all the way to the bottom. Once it gets to the bottom, you can reel up, and you basically just fish it like you would a Texas rig or a jig or a Carolina rig. It's pretty simple. That's how I fish it. I've caught some pretty good fish on this rig. When I came out here one day with the 6-inch boomstick, had it rigged up on this same exact hook actually, with this same rod and everything, and I cast it out. I'll cast over there to show you guys. You guys can see that black bait in that water a lot better. I cast it just right there. You guys see it hit the water right over there. Right there is the edge of a ledge is what that is, and it drops from about 3 foot to about 5.5 foot. So I cast it right there, and then I bring it off that ledge. And as you probably can't see, but it's kind of hard to tell with the camera, but it's actually falling down to the edge of the ledge right now, and now it is in the deeper part of the ledge. But I came out here and did that with a 6-inch boomstick and Green Pumpkin Magic, and caught a 4-pound. It was either 4 pound 3 ounces or 4 pound 6 ounces. I can't really remember. I caught 2 fish. I think it was actually in the same day. One was on the slugger worm Ned rig, and one was on the 6-inch boomstick runner rig style, like I got this 12-inch Wrangler worm. Don't really remember which was on which. I'll have to go back and look through my photos because I have the weight on the pictures. But that's how you fish this bait. You cast it out there, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and then you just hop it across the bottom like a jig. And I've never seen anybody fish this rig, and I made a video on it a couple weeks back, and a lot of people that were commenting on that video said that they've never heard of this rig either. So it's kind of a rig that I designed myself, and definitely catches fish. One of the first fish I ever caught on it was about a 3.5 pounder. I was using an 8-inch paddle tail worm, Box Lure Company 8-inch paddle tail worm. Then I switched over to the boomstick one day and was able to catch somewhere between 4 pound 3 ounces and 4 pound 6 ounces. I don't remember, like I said, which one was which. But with this muddier water, I decided to go with a black magic colored 12-inch Wrangler worm, just because I thought that it might do a little bit better. Holy cow, there's a big fish just moving. There's a big fish moving down there in the shallows. He didn't bite. That was a good fish though. I seen him moving. I could see him moving through the brush. Interesting. It's really weird, but okay. But anyway, we'll go ahead and talk about this right now. But how I like to fish this is just very slow, very methodical. I fish it very slow. When I do fish slow, I fish very slow. I don't speed it up or anything. You know, I don't. If I get into the mood of fishing really slow, I'm going to fish super slow. Like I'm talking, some people would probably be very annoyed at how slow I fish when I get into the slow fishing mood, just because of how very subtle, very slow I fish. I don't fish too fast. Honestly, I probably fish too slow, but I have caught some of the bigger fish by doing that. One of my bigger fish of the year was doing that, you know, My cousin, ooh, was that a fish? That was interesting. I don't know if it hit a stick or what. As I started to swim it up, something hit it. But I was out fishing with my cousins a while back in the summertime, and I actually, they were throwing moving baits. I think that one of them was throwing a spinner bait, and the other one was throwing I want to say the other one was throwing a square bill or something, maybe, or swim bait. I think it might have been a swim bait. And I picked up an 8-inch worm, 8-inch slammer worm, and picked it up, cast it out, and was just fishing almost painfully slow. And as I was bringing it through a brush pile, I just felt a little tick. And I felt a couple more little ticks. I set the hook, and it caught one of the bigger fish of the year. I actually got that fish on video too. That fish? No? Maybe. Might have been a fish, actually. The thing is with these 12-inch worms is, depending on the bait you're using. Now, I've experienced this quite a bit, and you can ask the enthusiastic fisherman this as well, because he experienced this as well. When I was fishing the 8-inch slammer worm, I had a very, I think it was an airplane or something up. It's weird. Wouldn't think that an airplane would be running around with this type of weather, but who knows. But anyway, you can ask the enthusiastic fisherman this as well. When I was fishing the 8-inch slammer worm, I had a very bad problem with fish getting hooked so deep that they were borderline, and sometimes they would be gut hooked. They would eat it so fast and so hard. And the enthusiastic fisherman, he caught one on the 8-inch slammer worm, and pretty good fish too, and he had it pretty much borderline gut hooked or gut hooked. I don't really remember. It's been a while since I watched that video. But for some reason with that 8-inch slammer worm and that 8-inch paddletail worm, they were just eating it so fast and so hard that they would get it way back. And it would be way back in there. They'd eat it quick, and that's what you got to worry about with these 12-inch worms like this here, is you got to wonder if that fish is going to just completely destroy your bait and just swallow it whole, or is it going to just kind of nibble at it and just barely get the hook. You know, I've had fish do both. And sometimes it can be hard to tell if the fish has got the bait all the way in. Normally, you know, if you're a bass fisherman for a while, and you bass fish for a very long time, and you know how to feel if a bite has got your hook or not, if a fish has got your hook, you can usually be able to tell when he bites down on your hook or your weight. You can usually be able to tell if if you bass fish a lot. But if you don't bass fish a whole lot, then you probably won't be able to tell. Some of you that, fish for other species may be able to still be able to tell. I don't know. Look at there's a fish bull. That was weird. But anyway, if you can feel when that fish has got your hook, because it feels different. You got a lot of worm in between the hook and the end, so you can feel the difference when he's biting here and when he's biting here. There's a pretty big difference in the feel of the bite if you get conditioned to how to tell what's a bite and what's a stick and all that. Now, I've been accused of doing it, and I've done it many a times. I done it yesterday, of hooking into brush piles because I feel that it's a bite. Honestly, at this point, I set the hook on anything that kind of feels like a bite because I haven't caught a fish in over a month and a half. Well, a bass. I've caught a bluegill a couple weeks back, but y'all know what I mean. It's been a while, so I pretty much just set the hook on anything that feels like a bite. But once you get on a hot bite and you can feel when it's a bite, you can feel the weight and the difference. You can get to feeling that pretty easy, and you get to where you can catch fish pretty regularly if you have a place where you can do that, But around here, you know, the fish they're pretty hard to fish for most of the time because they get fished for quite often. And in some places, there just is a sheer lack of fish in it, so it's hard to get one out of the 20 or 30 that's in a pond to bite, you know. But I've been bass fishing for somewhere around 5 years now, somewhere in that area. I think I started in middle of 2013, so close to 5 years, or maybe over 5 years now. You know, I've been bass fishing for a while, and I've really started to fish a lot of more soft plastics this year, obviously with my company, you know, because I make these baits here, you know, the giant baits, the big baits, small baits, and everything else. I've started to really get more into soft plastic bait fishing than I ever was before. And you get to where you can really feel when it's a bite, when it's a stick. You can really get to where you can tell when you should set the hook and when you shouldn't, versus just thinking he's got it, set the hook, and missing it. You know, and I've missed a lot of fish. I've had a lot of problems missing fish. I think everybody else does. You know, sometimes they'll hit the head of your bait, and you think they have it, and they'll drop it almost instantly because they feel that hook. That's happened before. I've watched fish do that on the bed. It's just something that happens, and you have to get conditioned to where you can tell when that fish has it. And nobody's going to be able to set the hook every time and get a fish. You know, that's just not the way it is. If it was like that, then it wouldn't be called fishing, it'd be called catching. You know, I've missed a lot of fish on that 8-inch slammer worm, and I've missed quite a few fish on that 10-inch slammer worm as well. You know, in this 12-inch worm, I'm sure this summer's probably going to get a lot of hits, and who knows how many I'll actually hook. You know, because this is definitely going to be a bait that I'm going to be focusing on throwing quite a bit in the summer this year, just because I think that I could probably catch a real good fish on it. Real quick, I want to toss this over here and bring it. Look at that action, you guys. Can you see that tail action on that bait? That thing has a boatload of action. It looks like a snake going through the water. I love this thing on a weightless rig. On like a weightless 6/0 hook is what I usually throw it on. That's what I've been throwing it on. A weightless 6/0 EWG, or not EWG, but weightless 6/0 swim bait hook. And I'll cast it out there on a bait caster and just slowly bring it across the surface, and man, does it look like a snake. It almost looks like a real snake. I bet you, you know, you could probably scare some people with it, you know, sitting on the bank. That might be a funny video. I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off though. Get my ghillie suit on and sit next to the bank while people are fishing, and then just throw these baits weightless across there and watch them freak out thinking it's a snake. That'd be hilarious. Probably wouldn't be able to pull it off though. But I tell you what, this thing definitely looks like a snake. I think in a couple ponds, in a couple different ponds that I fish, and a couple lakes even, I'd say that using it as a snake lure would probably be able to catch you a pretty good fish, pretty good bass, and who knows what else. Probably be able to get a pond grinnell on this too, buzzing it through the surface, or on the surface through the water, whatever. Who knows? I've never caught a pond grinnell. That's something I do want to catch this year, this upcoming year. That's kind of a bucket list fish that I want to get this year. Never caught one, definitely want to though. But this is how I fish it. You know, you just cast it out there and slowly bring it across the bottom, and I've caught quite a few fish on it. You guys have seen the pictures and stuff. I've showed pictures on like thumbnails and stuff, and if you're friends with me on Facebook, you would have seen them as well. I've posted them up. But the runner rig is definitely something that I don't see anybody throwing. The only person I've ever seen throw it was the old Basser, and he watched my video and went with it and used it and was able to catch quite a few fish. And that's something else. During his video, he talked about how, you know, you don't have to really change up your baits a whole lot because you can swim it and you can just kind of hop it across the bottom and all that. And that's something that I did agree with in that video, and I didn't even mention it in mine, was that you can not only just bump it across the bottom, but you can also slow swim it, slow crawl it across the bottom. And with this, 12-inch Wrangler worm right here, it gives it a really good action. I actually got some grass on my hook there. But as you guys can see in the water there, it's got a really good swimming action. So I think during the summertime, bombing it out, letting it sink to the bottom, and then just slow crawling it back could probably be able to catch some fish. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you learned anything, let me know down in the comments what you learned in this video. And let me know if you've ever heard of this rig, or if you've ever heard of a rig like it. Because me personally, I haven't, and a lot of people that watched my runner rig video had not heard about it either. So let me know down in the comments if you had heard about it before, or if you've used it or used something similar to it. I just kind of threw stuff together. I already had a swim bait hook tied on, and I put an 8-inch paddle tail worm on it and went out and actually was able to catch a fish like on my 3rd cast, and that's how I pretty much just ran with it after that, and it's been catching fish. So thank you guys for watching once again. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.